All right.
Hi everybody.
And welcome back to the AMSA Anatomy Show with your host, Miss Abby Samra.
And Miss Thibault, we are continuing our journey through the digestive system, Act 2, the sequel. All right, so this is Chapter 2, Section 4 in your book, and we're talking about final absorption and elimination. Sounds pretty final, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, so our essential questions, again, our main questions, we're still looking at what happens to a piece of food from entering the mouth to excreting the remains, and how does the digestive system work with the other body systems. Specifically for this section, we're looking at what is the digestive process that occurs in the small intestine and how are the other digestive organs involved, and what is the role of the large intestine.
Our key terms for this section, gallbladder. So if you look at the little diagram, that's that little green pouch kind of thing in front of the liver. Liver is another key term. Bile, we'll talk about what that is. Pancreas, that's the little light green thing behind the stomach. Villus or villi, one's plural. Large intestine, also known as the colon. Small intestine, rectum, and anus. Welcome back to the second half of our story. When we left off, our hero, the noble knight of pizza, reduced now to a thick liquid within the realm of stomach, awash in acid and being tossed around like the spin cycle of the washing machine.
Suddenly, a tiny round portal at the bottom of the realm of stomach appeared, and mysterious little fingers in the village of Villi on the other side beckoned Sir Pizza to come hither.
Okay, so now we're in the stomach. The stomach is the organ that stores food until the small intestine has room for it. So there's circular muscles at each end that are called sphincters that will open and close. And when the small intestine is empty, that sphincter at the bottom of the stomach will relax and let the food from the stomach in. That's called the pyloric valve, pyloric sphincter.
So then it enters the small intestine. So this is the longer of the two intestines. We actually call it the small intestine just because it's thinner. It's not as wide as the large intestine. But this is like 2/3 the length of the digestive system. So most of the time when you're digesting your food, it's going to be in here. But almost all of the chemical digestion happens in here, as well as the absorption of nutrients. So getting it into your bloodstream, right? Once you get it into your body, you need to actually get it into your body, right? So bicarbonate ions in the fluid break down carbohydrates, fats, proteins. Remember all of those wonderful macromolecules we've been talking about, right? And at this point, they are going to be broken down completely, so into their smallest little forms, right? And think about the pH of the small intestine. What do you think it is there? We said the stomach was really acidic.
So maybe that's a fun fact that you can look up when you're done with this. In class, we'll show you, if we haven't already shown you, we have some rope that shows the length of the small intestine and some PVC pipe that shows you the diameter of it, so you can really visualize how wide is this organ and how long is it and how is it compacted into your body, which is kind of cool. And we also have demonstration for the large intestine as well. So the small intestine, starches and proteins have been broken down, but lipids have not been at this point in time. And the liquid that is now in your small intestine is called chyme. It's still kind of like a smoothie consistency. And it mixes with enzymes. These are made by the small intestine. And the liver contributes a little bit, and the pancreas contributes a little bit. And this all gets churned around and is then absorbed by the walls of the small intestine.
Yum.
And that movement, yeah, yummy, yummy. That movement is the same movement that you have in your esophagus, where that food gets kind of squeezed down. Now, one of my classes was able to watch some of these videos today, and the rest of you maybe will watch it next week. Peristalsis is that movement that squeezes the chyme down through the intestine. You're welcome to look at these on your own. I know one of them doesn't work, but the other two work, and I'll give you the backstory when we see you in class.
All right, the liver. So upper right side of your body, right on this diagram, it's that kind of like brownish, reddish color. this is the largest organ inside of your body. So something like your skin has the largest surface area, but the largest like actual physical organ is the liver.
And look at where it is in your body. So like, look at where this guy's armpits are. So it's sort of like right below your armpit, covering like most of the right side of your upper torso, which is kind of big organ.
Yeah. So this is going to help filter your blood. So it's going to break down things like medicines. It's going to get rid of nitrogen that you don't need. It's going to store vitamins for you. Really filters out a lot of stuff from your blood. It's also going to produce bile, which is super important for your digestive system. So bile breaks down fat. So it breaks down those lipids into smaller droplets. Kind of like soap breaks up grease. So if you've ever cleaned like a greasy pan, right, and poured like some Dawn dish soap on it, right, it kind of makes that big giant thing of grease into little drops of grease that you can more easily clean up, right? And it's the same thing in your body. Those smaller drops of fats and lipids are a lot easier to break down by other enzymes that are made by the pancreas. And then we have the gallbladder too. Like we said, it's that little kind of green pouch that's right in front of the liver there. And it basically just stores bile so that if you eat a lot of fats, you can kind of just flood that small intestine with a ton of bile and just break it all down at once.
But you can live without your gallbladder. Like my mom has had her gallbladder removed, and you can function fine without your gallbladder.
Yep.
So pancreas is that little, in the diagram, it's that light green organ. Now, again, these are colored. They're not really this color in real life. It's just in the diagram. Light green organ behind the stomach. It's a little triangular shaped, and it sits kind of between the stomach and the small intestine. And it empties out enzymes that break down fats and starches and proteins into the top of the small intestine. We'll show you a little video about that next class too. So again, this diagram shows from the esophagus, and this is sort of the British spelling of it, to the top of the small intestine. So you can see kind of where the placement of all these organs are.
All right, absorption. So by the time you get well into the small intestine, your food has been broken down into molecules that are small enough to actually be absorbed into the body. So basically, all of those tiny little molecules are just diffusing through the walls of the small intestine into your blood, right? So that's what we mean by absorption. Fiber that you eat, so if you eat like a lot of fruits and vegetables, things like that, they have a lot of fiber. That's going to thicken up the liquid, so it makes it more of a smoothie instead of like a watery liquid, and that helps that peristalsis, right? If you're trying to squeeze a straw and push water through, it's not as effective as if you're trying to push something that's a little bit more solid through.
So this picture shows the villi, those little projections that line the whole inside of your small intestine. These are called villi. Singular is villus. And this increases the surface area of your small intestine. So absorption of nutrients happens all along the surface of those villi. This is another diagram of them kind of looking straight down. I think this is a 3D, actually. I think if you had 3D glasses, it might. If anybody has 3D glasses at home, try it and see if it looks 3D. And this is just a cross-section of a diagram. You can see the blood vessels attached to the villi, and the villi actually have microvilli. So there's villi on the villi. It's like villiception. But you can also see in here the red blobs are muscles. You can see some nerve endings here in the white, and the red and the blue are the capillaries and blood vessels.
All right, so like we said, those villi are those little finger-like projections, and they are completely along the entire inner surface of that small intestine. And like we said, they are going to increase the surface area, right? So if you have just a regular tube for stuff to diffuse through, you'll get a decent amount out, right? But if you have little projections going inward, that's a lot of area where stuff can diffuse into your blood. So this is super important. And each little villus has its own blood vessels so that it can really, really easily just get into the bloodstream from there. So just another little view of it. So this would be one villus, right? And you can see the little microvilli on there. So increases that surface area even more. And you can see all those blood vessels running through it.
And there's lymphatic vessels too that run through it. We'll talk about those later on.
So our hero, Sir Pizza, has been reduced to his nutrient bits, and most of them have been absorbed by the body. Sir Pizza is no less brave, however, because he has almost accomplished what he came here to do, to feed and nourish you.
Now, in the land of large intestine, he will be aided by the bacterial knights to make vitamins. So here we are in the large intestine. So on our little diagram, we've traveled through that orange maze of the small intestine, and now we're entering the bottom. Can you see where the bottom right-hand side of the large intestine, that's where the small intestine meets it and empties into it. So this is also called the colon. You can see there's a piece that goes up, there's a piece that goes across, there's a piece that goes down, and there's a little tiny half a piece that goes across. So that's the ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, and sigmoid colon. You don't need to know those words, but just hearing them increases your knowledge. So it's our large intestines in an adult, it's about 1.5 meters long, and again we'll show you with that string in class when we get to class next week. And we have beneficial bacteria in our large intestine that feeds on the material that passes through it. These bacteria are really useful to us because they make vitamins for us, like vitamin K, vitamin B12. If we didn't have those bacteria, we would end up being pretty malnourished. Sometimes if somebody takes antibiotics, it'll kill off all the bacteria. So it's meant to kill off, like, let's say you have strep throat, it's meant to kill off the streptococcus bacteria, but sometimes these stronger antibiotics will also kill off all the beneficial bacteria. So we want to make sure that we keep that good bacteria in us to make these vitamins for us. Our large intestine also takes that smoothie and starts to absorb some of the water and pull that water out because it wants to start to make feces.
So this is just another view of it, right? So we talked about those different parts of the colon, right? Ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, sigmoid colon, I can't talk. It's okay. And then that last little bit is the rectum. And that's just where everything is stored before you're going to get rid of it.
Okay, having bravely endured the trials of the land of digestion, Sir Pizza has had a well-deserved spa day in the village of large intestine to have his excess water removed. His job in digestive system is done. Sir Pizza may now go into retirement, play cards with his pals, and hopefully get a royal flush. All right, last part of the digestive system, as Ms. Abu-Samr said, the rectum is the part that stores undigested food. Basically, it stores feces before it leaves your body.
Yeah.
So the anus is the last part of the digestive system. Again, that's a muscular, circular muscle, and any kind of circular muscle is called a sphincter. Your iris in your eye is actually a sphincter too. So this is just another sphincter, and this is the end of the digestive system. Okay, so we've already talked about some of these different parts. We'll go over this in class, but you can kind of test yourself a little bit if you know the names of all of these parts. And this picture shows, where is this? I think this might be in Colorado. There's a museum in Denver. If it's not this one, I know they also have one there that's a big slide, and you can slide through the digestive system and end up coming out at the end, which is kind of fun, especially for little kids. All right. That's it.
All right.
Have a great day.